All right. It is Wednesday. It is 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern here in New York. So we go live right here from 42 West 18th Street here at Adorama. Not a green screen. You can totally show up. Jolene did. Who is Jolene? We'll get to this in a minute. We'll get to this. There's a lot. There's so much, so much. But I'm very excited because it's been a long time coming. But, you know, I got to do some housekeeping first, right? So before I get into who Jolene is, I want to give a quick thank you to Sony for sponsoring this one. You guys know Sony. I think it's like a cultural icon at this point, right? The cinema line, FX30, FX3. You got the Alpha line, A7 V, A7R5, the A9 III global shutter. I know Jolene's just been telling me that she's using the FX line with what she's doing. We'll talk about that as well. But go check out the links down below. Somehow you've been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, century and don't know what Sony's about. And I want to give a quick thank you to Tenba, because Tenba was like, hey, we want to support this. So they wanted to make sure you get a cool custom Coffee with Creators camera bag.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
I love it.
And black on black.
I've got my loose camera over there. Now it has a home.
Oh, yeah, you actually do. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
So Tenba started right here in New York in the 70s by a photographer. And if you've been in this industry for at like 5 minutes, you probably had a Tenba of some kind. I like their tech pouches personally with like the clear window on it. Best ever. Check out the links down below for the full lineup. Tenba, thank you for supporting this show and our community, honestly. And speaking of our community, I want to give a last shout out to Gotham Roasters. Cheers, kid.
Cheers.
What'd you get?
I got an iced latte. What'd you get?
Very classy. I get Death Black cold brew every time. I'm Greek. We like it bitter, you know. So
Okay.
But Gotham Roasters is owned by a photographer and a filmmaker over on 19th Street. So if you come in here, go grab some from there. Tell them Adorama sent you. Grab a seat and be amazed. No, but we're really thankful that they've been supporting the show for like 100 episodes. So, well, we're at 90 something episodes, but either way, thank you to Gotham Roasters. All right. Who is this human being next to me who brought an extra human with them today? Because part of the reason you've been so busy is you actually, you had a daughter, and that's really amazing, but you are so busy. Okay. Who are you? First of all, I think of you as an artist above everything else, but you are the senior photographer for the NYC Medical Examiner. You are this mythological figure that you hear the name of. Anybody in New York that's doing some kind of plate. Jolene is mentioned somehow. Victoria Will was here, who did some really high profile people on plate. And she was like, I needed Jolene to finish this for me. So you are working as a professional photographer. You're also an instructor at FIT, I think, right? Which is where my studio is right next to it. That's what I'm saying. Like the New York photo community is so like this. And I'm like, why isn't Jolene somewhere in this stratosphere of being on this show? And she's like, well, she created a life. Well, she has a workshop. Well, she had to be at the medical examiner. And it kept, every time it was just something else. I'm like, this woman is like a superhero in the photo community. So I was like, I'm so glad you're here. Guys, Jolene Lupo, what's going on?
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming through finally. I was like, I was trying to like,
I'm so, you know, it was only a matter of time. I was like, yeah, it's going to come together. It's going to come together.
It finally did come to Jeffrey Berliner was like, I'm going to get her. I was like, are you her agent? What is going on? If you know Jeffrey Berliner, his episode was really good. I talked a lot about plate and stuff like that, which is what you brought today, which is very cool to have them in person. We're going to go and show some of your work while we talk a little bit, but man, forget about the process. Your subject matter is so intriguing from like, I think it's a lot of exploratory with death, but the portraiture has your portraiture has a lot of weight to it. Like, I feel like when I see it, there's like an anchor point to it. You stay with it for a second. And that to me, my big thing is portraits should portray the person. It's not just like a glamour shot, right?
Yeah.
But when you have someone stick and stay and fall into the portrait, it's successful. And I think that's what you do. Let me see if I can get, do you want to go to your Instagram or what we brought in here today?
I think you could stay here. Maybe that first one is one of the few portraits I included.
Oh, hold on, guys. I just had of course I had a glitch. I told you. Hold on, guys. I'm going to fix this.
That's how you know it's live.
I know. It's how you know it's live. Hold on, guys.
It's not pre-recorded.
I know. Guys, this is like, you have no idea the gremlin. There we go. All right. So what are we looking at?
Okay, so this is an 8x10 tintype of one of my good friends, Lizzie. I think this is a really good example of just what you're able to get when you know someone really well. You know, we took like hours to take this photo. And with the tintype process too, it's kind of nice because you're really there with the person. Like a session would be like maybe an hour. So I kind of lead them through the process. You know, I get the camera set up before I even start, you know, getting the plate ready. And I think it really like puts somebody at ease, you know, and it creates a rapport with the person. And I like to think that like definitely with wet plate and with some of these bigger formats, it's a little less like intrusive, you know, like I'm only taking one picture, and it's a
Yeah.
little more of like a collaboration, you know. And so yeah, so this was just something that, you know, we did like every move, you know. I was watching the light falling on her. We did this plate and we're like, wow, this is really beautiful. I don't remember why. We're like, let's do one more. And we could never, you know, sometimes you do the second plate and it only confirms how much you love
You
the
know that.
first one. You know, it was like these little tendrils of her hair and all of these little things we really couldn't recreate again.
But
But
you,
yeah, you know, portraiture, it's a unique challenge every time, you know?
yeah, and what's interesting is what I don't think people really picked up there is you watched the light, you didn't shoot the frames. Like in this day and age with digital, kids like flying 20 frames
Yeah.
a second. They're going, maybe there's something there. You watched it. You might have missed a fleeting moment, and then you ever get crazy? Like you saw something like, oh,
Yes.
can we go back to
Yes.
that thing?
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking through the ground glass and they do something, and you're like, can you tilt your head? You just did something, you
Yeah.
know?
And they don't get it.
No, it's hard to recreate. You
And there's
know?
no tether for them to look at the way they look at.
Yes.
When I did a lot of large form, I put mirrors behind me.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
But then I noticed that they weren't looking through me. They were looking like over my shoulder rather than
Yeah.
through the glass or whatever. I've seen people do two-way mirrors in front of their glass.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
It's an interesting idea,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What do you feel has been like a challenge when you don't know the person though? Because I feel like when you have a rapport, the
Yes.
guard's dropped, you already got the trust.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you only got one shot, do they go, okay, I only got one shot?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
your
there's
pressure, not theirs.
yeah. No, it is hard. Then I'm more just looking at, you know, what do they look like? You know, what are their facial features? What are we trying to accentuate? What are they wearing? You know, is it a portrait of one person, of two? And so all of those things become a little bit more important, and become, you know, the focus of what I'm trying to do in that moment. And then I'm watching them, you know, sometimes something like that does happen, you know, and I'll try and, you know, I'll try and play with that, you know, or I'll try and like get people comfortable enough is a big thing, you know, with portraiture is just getting people comfortable behind the camera too.
Yeah.
So sometimes even if it's not direction I need to give them, just giving them a lot of direction can sometimes put people at ease.
You know,
But-
some of these shots though, like I feel like, this is going to sound bad. I feel when we pull out cameras that are so analog and so big, people get cartoony about it, and they think it's almost like they're at an
Yeah.
adventure park
Yes.
and they're getting some like, let's wear a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And you've done shots that I think I don't know the backstory, but they look theatric.
Yeah.
And like, how do you take away the goofy and make it worth shooting on such a specific format? I mean, it's a hard medium, man.
It is. Because there's always a connection. It's always a connection with the past, right? And like, say this weekend, I'm working with this cemetery, Maple Grove. I'm actually their artist in residence this year, so I'm excited about that.
When did that happen?
You know what? I've just started announcing it. I'm like, oh, I didn't announce that. So, you know, it's really our first project that we're doing together. It's going to be throughout the summer. I have a workshop coming up there. So it's going to be a number of events that I'm doing with them over the next year.
What does that look like? So what is an artist residency at a cemetery?
So Greenwood Cemetery has a very well-known residency that they started a few years ago. Maple Grove is kind of flying under the radar. I live out in Kew Gardens, and it's out in my neighborhood, and they're really flexible. They've been amazing. They have a whole state-of-the-art nonprofit, state-of-the-art building, and so I kind of can do whatever I want with them. There's certain events they want me to take part in.
Wait, do whatever you. Okay, hold on.
Okay, as far as they have spaces for me to use, I
Right.
can leave some of my equipment there.
Okay.
They're open to almost like any process. They're just very collaborative, and like it's almost like the boundaries are almost what I suggest. Obviously, you know, I'm very respectful as this is a place where
Yes.
people are buried, their loved ones are there. It's an active cemetery, you know, and I, you know, always try to keep that respect in my work. But as far as like, they're just, you know, I feel like I could almost say, you know, I want to do a video, I want to do wet plate, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And they are like, okay, great. We know this school, we know this guy, we'll bring them over. And everyone's been really, open to working together.
That's special, man. I think because you probably showed them the level of respect and trust.
Yeah.
Which is like a portrait. Basically, you're doing a portrait of the cemetery if you think about it. Although the term active cemetery is kind of interesting, right?
yeah, an active seven.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's
skeletons dancing or whatever. No, but I think
very much a place of rest. But
I don't think anyone could just go there unless they've proven where their headspace
Yeah.
is for such work. Like, you're not making a mockery of it. You're
No.
not making a theatrical mess out of it. You're doing, like, I want to say it's documented more than artistry. Is that?
Well, you know what brought me on this subject? So this weekend they have an event called Spirits Alive, where they have actors coming in and they have a whole collection of like Victorian costumes.
Oh,
And so
whoa.
they'll recreate certain stories of specific people that are buried there, because their whole thing is about keeping the memory of these people alive, right? And so I do a lot of work with spirit photography. So the minute I heard that they did this event, I always thought it would be a cool thing to document before the residency.
Mhm.
And so that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, they're going to be wearing costumes, but I think that the process is going to kind of take a layer back from it looking costumey, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think it'll look like it's from that time. I'm aiming to make it like a spirit photograph, so there'll be not like a ton of focus on the people, but the idea, like the memory of them being there in that space, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not focus so much on like these details. Some of the things maybe I think too you're referencing is like some videos that I've done that are a little more on the educational lines
Yeah.
too with Doughty. And so, you know, that's a different kind of balance than something if I'm making like personal work, you know, then we're trying to tell a story. We're trying to show people what this might have been like at that time, you know, and I think it's okay to lean a little more into reproduction, you know.
Yeah, it's
a
not
hard
a
balance.
reenactment.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you have the ability to basically relive what it would have been at that moment today, and it's really hard because you're looking at it in vibrant color in real life. You're
Yes.
seeing the threads. It has that costumey kind of
Yeah.
thing, but you're using probably an actual camera that was built during that time period, glass that was done from that time period. Really, all it's new is the humans, right,
Yeah.
and the fauna, obviously. But what when you say spirit photography, can you define that for this audience? Because I don't think they understand what's.
Okay, so it's a part of the history of photography that I've always been really, really drawn to and interested in. So the wet plate collodion process dates back to the 19th century. Was it 1851, 1852? Yeah, and so right as it was starting, you know, we're seeing people kind of playing with this idea of like, you know, the photograph is truth, right? Like, what are ways to manipulate the medium? Kind of started in Boston in the 1860s with a man named William Mumler. And he says he doesn't know how the pictures started appearing, but the spirits started appearing in his photos. And he started selling spirit portraits, marketing himself as a spirit photographer. He was getting a lot of people coming in. And eventually, I mean, a lot of photographers were trying to come in and they were like, well, this is fraudulent.
Yeah.
You know, these are not real. You're selling something that you're not actually making. You know, you're taking advantage of people who are grieving, you know, and you know, it wasn't just him. This was happening, and a lot of other people were also starting to play with spirit photography. There was the Fox sisters in upstate New York. There was like seances with wrappings on the table, and there was a whole religious like wave of spiritualism that was sweeping the country. That was this idea that we could communicate with the dead, and to bring yourself back, you have to understand like X-ray technology was starting to come out at the time. People didn't really understand photography, and the process itself, if you've seen it, kind of feels like magic when you're watching it come up, that it's maybe not that far-fetched to think like maybe it had the ability to see through another spectrum, you know, another realm. So, you know, people wanted to believe, and so eventually it ends up in a trial in 1869. They're like, you're not making these photos. We don't know how you're making it. They list all these ways he could have made it. There's some great books where they list, you know, like 7 to 9 ways that he could have made them.
Oh, the double
Which
exposure.
we've tried many of,
Yeah.
double exposure on glass, all these different things. But the thing is, they couldn't prove how he did it. So he gets off. He ends up going and making more spirit photos, and he even gets the spirit photograph of Mary Todd Lincoln with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln, which is one of his most famous photographs. Now, Houdini was involved in this scene, P.T. Barnum, you know.
It was carny feeling.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, no, it was it's a really interesting point in history, but the thing is, people didn't stop making spirit photos after the public started to kind of understand that it wasn't real.
Right.
People started kind of playing with them. You know, the stereoscope came out, and in the manual it had like for purposes of amusement. and it lists out how you can make a ghost in your photo by just having a long exposure and having the ghost go in for a portion of the time, sort of Sir David Brewster's ghost, you know.
So especially talking about the stereoscope, like you'd put two images on, like it was about this long, and you'd stare at it, and it would get a little 3D, and they would actually sell it as going on vacation without leaving your couch.
Well, it's like, you know, you didn't have TV at the time, right? So what would you do? You know?
That was a great 5 minutes. Amazing.
Well, you know, it mimics the way our eyes see things, right? And you have the two pictures from slightly different perspectives. You have the camera with the two lenses.
I did that for IKEA.
Did you?
Yeah, in 2008, I did.
What kind of a camera?
It was, actually, I think it was just a straight up Nikon, because I did 1:30, I shot and then moved 1:30 and then put it together. And they didn't do anything with it, but I got paid for it. So, but I remember there was an actual society in New York, the Society of Stereo Photographers, something like that. And Peter
I think
Wallach
they're still around.
So Peter Wallach at the time, who I hope you're still out there, man, unbelievably crazy dude, super talented, was like, let me teach you this 1:30 technique. And then I listened to how they did it, and I was like, this is awesome. And I used it for IKEA. So I don't know what to say about that. But one thing I want to touch on is what she's talking about is, at that time, photographers were scientists. So you believed what they were telling you on a referential scientific thing, not it wasn't what we're doing today, right? Like, it was actual scientists giving you
were like
something.
a photographer, you were a chemist, you were in the dark room with these very toxic
Huge
chemicals.
gloves.
Yeah.
It was actually like kind of scary. If you looked at, like,
sure.
actually, you know what has a good scene? You guys ever watch Boardwalk Empire? There was a portrait studio in that series, and Scorsese did it great. I mean, the guy's coming out with full rubber, and he's like, they'll be ready in about the end of the day. And you're like, whoa, but that's what it was. If you did that today, you'd be like, well, this is the Gilgo Beach Killer. Like, I'm going to. I mean, like, it's kind of nuts, though. But I think the word of the photographer was different than it is today, because they literally were the scientists. They were developing literally the substrates we were doing. So it's almost like someone who made the film is the one taking your photo. Yeah. Which is kind of wild.
And also, it's like the sleight of hand with that. Those pictures was so important. It's like, okay, we look at it today. It's like, oh, is it just a double exposure? I could do that in Photoshop. But
or solarizing.
It's so much more than that. I mean, people were joining him in the darkroom, and he's also making the likeness of someone that they feel like they knew. You know, so it's a really interesting phenomenon. And London Stereoscopic Company came out with a whole thing of like the ghost in the stereoscope, these like campy slides of like, you know, it's like the ghost of old Santa Claus, he's in the kitchen, you know, they're really fun to view. But I think the topic encompasses like a very serious, you know, note of, you know, this idea of bringing back someone's loved one, or just even creating a visual of that feeling that the person is there with you.
Oh, the grief. I mean,
the grief. Yeah.
Back then, a lot of people spent most of their lives grieving. There was at the Met, there was a Death Becomes Her exhibit, which I couldn't stop going to, because the majority of women's lives were grieving. So the fashion took over, because they never wore anything but black. So what else could they do with black? Then they showed the stages of grieving, where if they were coming out of it, they got to wear like a pattern on the black. And I'm like, I couldn't stop going to this exhibit.
Was that recent?
It was years ago.
Okay.
And it was, man, it for you, we would have been blown.
I know. I'm like, oh man, I missed it.
But I don't think people realize how much of their life was surrounded by constant loss. I mean, you had plagues, you had all sorts of diseases they didn't know about. They had life expectancy was like 30. You know, like it was just wild, man. Infant mortality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the war. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. People talk about the postmortem photos, and they're like, why would you want that? And it's like, well, this might be the only, you know, memory, like the only photograph of this person, you know, and it didn't feel as weird then. People were a little more connected with that, you know.
I collect a bunch of those when I go to thrift.
Do you?
Yeah. Do you remember that? I forgot what the name of it is. But they had a TV show, Oddities or whatever.
Yes, with Evan Michelson. Yeah.
So I used
Obscura,
to Obscura. That's what it was. So I used to go there before it became whatever it was, and I'd buy them, and she always gave me a discount because I went there a lot. But the care they took for these post-mortem shots, where they wouldn't be disrespectful or entertainment-y. Does that make sense?
Yes,
like it really was serious. And then when she explained to me, like, this might be the only photo they've ever had of this person, that's when it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you kind of look like can't tell if they're fake or not sometimes.
Yeah. I know. You hear that a lot, because, you know, you have to be very still for these pictures.
Yeah.
You know,
they paint in makeup sometimes, and it's like really awkward.
Yeah. It's like, is the person sleeping, or they
they had pink cheeks? Okay. You know, where did this start for you? Because I feel like you have such this death connection to a lot of your stuff. Was it always like a curiosity, and the camera was your conduit to kind of make more sense out of it?
I'd say so. I think it was always a curiosity. from when I was young, really, and like maybe an interest like in Halloween, things like that. In high
Interest in
school,
I like Tim Burton and Hot
yeah,
Topic.
I watched a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas as a child. You
didn't?
know, who did it? Grew up on that VHS. But in aging myself. But no, in high school, I had a really strong forensic science class.
Oh,
And so, you know, when I was graduating, it was kind of like, am I gonna? I was also really interested in photography and darkroom work at the time, and so I was like, am I gonna go to school for photography or am I gonna go for forensics? And then I had found a biomedical photography program at RIT. I was gonna go there. It was kind of like a nice mixture of art and science. And then I ended up getting into FIT, and I kind of chose New York City over Rochester, and by doing that, the path sort of changed into being more of a general photography path. And yeah, and you know, so in undergrad, I had discovered this book, The Strange Case of William Mumler, Spirit Photographer, like
wait.
junior year.
it just came across it, or they were like, "Here's reading material for what we're doing." Like, did
Oh
you?
no, I had discovered like in a library or something when I was trying to figure out like what I was going to do for my senior project.
So
you know, and you're like,
I similar. Luke Sante put out a book of crime scene photos from
yes,
forever
is it
ago.
evidence?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That book
Yes.
flipped a bunch of switches in my
Yeah.
skull, and I was like, "This is a thing."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I gotta find that book.
I know, you know what? I forgot about that book. But when I was starting to get into this, everyone was like, have you seen this book? And I was like, oh, and then I finally found it. I was like, oh my God, yes.
So what happened?
Okay, so I found the spirit references, and I
I'm like
also,
this all the time with it, with that weird girl walking around with that.
oh
book like
yeah,
this.
like studying it.
Crows are landing on your shoulder. No.
Well, you know, I guess I was kind of referencing a little bit of the look of tintypes before I even really knew what they were.
Mhm.
I remember actually my second year, I did these like very like formal portraits, and I was like, I think they're supposed to be very stiff, you know what I mean? They're like digital. I like drew on them with a pencil trying to make it look like old timey, you know. I wasn't quite sure what the reference was, but I was interested in it, and I had a teacher who was like, these are interesting, but like they don't really relate to any of your other work, right? But now it's funny to look back because it was like foreshadowing into a lot of things I would do later. So I liked that kind of a look. And then I found the spirit photography. I was really interested in that. I was shooting a lot of large format also. And then I also found this like guy who was doing these high speed images of bursting water balloons on DIY, photography. I don't know
interesting.
if you've seen that website. It's like anyway, tutorials. And so I made this spirit photograph that was a bursting water balloon in the middle of like a seance scene. So I spent like all year to take like this one photograph. And I got it in the first shot.
Where is that?
You know what? I don't know. I think it's like on my I think it's on my Instagram.
Well,
It's got to
guys.
be deep in there. You know, I think I probably took it off my website because it was ages ago. But
Go deep dive on her IG.
that was like the beginning.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that
and
sounds
so-
so cool.
I was always interested though in history of photography and stuff like that. And so after school, I got a number of different types of jobs in the photo industry, you know, working for e-commerce sites. You know, I had done some still life photography while in school.
So you're dialing in your lighting skills.
Yeah. And I worked at the Evolution store.
Yo!
Yeah, I did. I was like their
I
like
bought-
still life photographer for a little bit.
So I needed human teeth for something, and I couldn't get them.
As one needs.
Well,
you know?
yeah. So I think we have
I'm starting
parallel.
to see that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a new law came out that I needed a medical license to
Oh,
buy
yeah.
human teeth, but it wasn't like that years ago when I was needing them
Yes.
for other things, right? Evolution was like, "Oh, we got you covered." And they gave me a bag of bear teeth, and they said it'll match. And you know what? Bear teeth match human teeth, and that's where I learned it.
Real? Is that
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Apparently, the molars
Okay.
are 1-to-1 and stuff like that. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, but it's just I love how New York. I need bear teeth.
Oh yeah, I know a guy. You gotta go talk to Bill and.
What'd you do at Evolution? What'd you do over there?
When I was younger, I worked there as a sales associate, and then once I graduated, I went back and I worked there as a still life photographer. So
Oh.
I got to photograph their stuff in like the back room when they were over on Spring Street.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Kind of ties in a little bit with my interest there, and then I was working for this hat and handbag designer. I was kind of like hating my life, you know. It was like the work, the guy, you know. It was,
The guy.
you know, you like it would be like 5 o'clock, and you'd come sit with you and be like, "So what'd you do today?" You know, and I'm like, "Oh gosh," I'm like, "I got to get out of this." So I was like, "What did I love about photography?" You know, I'm like, "I should take a class." You know, I found this class at the ICP that was a 3-day weekend workshop into wet plate collodion. I was like, "Okay, maybe this will bring me back."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just so inspiring. It really like ended up kind of changing the trajectory of my career, you know. And then I had found out about Penumbra, and I'm like, this place would be like my dream job. I've done this a few times where I'm like, I find the place I really want to work and I try and introduce myself to them. And then hopefully there's an opportunity later to get involved. That's advice I try and tell my students, you know, because it's like, if you don't know what you want to do, you're never going to get there. But if you can identify and you can like have them know who you are, they're going to think of you if something opens up, you know, and you're the right person. Eventually I started working at Penumbra Foundation. I was doing some wet plate stuff on my own, but I didn't really know what I was doing.
We got to explain Penumbra for a second. So we're saying it casually because everyone in New York knows Penumbra Foundation, but Jeffrey Berlin, who was here a couple episodes ago, actually started it. And he's been teaching this process for forever. I think he's like everybody's like crazy uncle that's teaching them some crazy stuff. Yeah. And then you're all doing amazing things with it. I wanted to take a class from him, me and Daniel, because our studio is a few blocks from there. Okay. And he said for years, we're going to do it. We're just going to take the class.
That's how it is though, right?
Never did it, but I did.
He's still around, you know, he's doing it.
I did wet play before, but I got to tell you the level of mistake, like the bandwidth you have to make an error and then it dominoes from there.
Yeah,
it's just maddening. So I just want to make sure I don't waste my time and we learn anyway. That's what she's talking about. So if you do have, if you want to check that out, it's a nonprofit, I think. Yeah, it's a nonprofit. Yeah. And do you do workshops there?
Yeah, I do some workshops there and I do some on my own now. So usually there, I've been in the fall, I do often a spirit photography class. Where
take your class.
It's so much fun. So it's like a crash course into wet plate collodion, but really focusing on ways to manipulate the medium.
Can I show this?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is one that I'm doing on my own. This is at the cemetery. So this class, this actually is perfect. So this is based on that first class that I did way back when. So that was 3 days out in the field. And I just think there's something beautiful about learning with natural light. I mean, it's the way the process was intended to be used originally.
That's a good point.
And it gives you enough time to kind of like, okay, like these are all of the steps. You maybe make some mistakes on the second day. And by the third day, you usually have something that you really feel good about, you know?
And what about equipment? Do they need it?
No, I bring all the equipment. And I've worked with Jeffrey Berliner, who's just like a godsend, real mentor of mine. And
he's babysitting your kid right now.
He's literally with my daughter. Uncle or Grandpa Jeffrey, right? So he's helped me set me up with the camera. So we have large format cameras for everyone. I have 2 portable dark rooms set up, and everything. You know, I pack up all the chemistry. All of that will be mixed fresh for the weekend, and they'll leave with like a manual. That points them in the direction of where, you know, you can find some of this stuff, some recipes to start with. And all of that, really like everything you'd need to kind of get going with it.
The funniest thing is like most of the people that take that workshop are going to take this amazing one of a kind analog piece and then take a phone picture of it and post it. And that's what we do. This is what we do now.
I know. Well, you know, the other problem is what do you do with all the plates? You do this long enough and it's like, oh my gosh, they do pile up. But there is something so beautiful about the thingness of it, you know, and being able to hold something in your hand.
And that's it. That's the one. Like that is, I feel like our generation is probably like the last one to really like dig into things like that. And if you learned on film, then you went to digital. I feel like you approach digital so differently. Yeah. And just the thought process of what images are. And now we're moving into a video centric world, and and now what you're seeing is like, now film and analog is getting so turbocharged again because these kids are trying to find all these cameras before we don't have them anymore. And little boutique camera companies are popping up that are still, it's kind of wild when you think about it, right?
When I started doing wet plate, there really weren't a lot of people doing it. And so there was really only a few places to look for resources, for gear. And there's parts. So much now. There's so many places. There's some places. I was just going to say there are 3D printing pieces. And there's a huge community, which is actually great. So there's all kinds of communities online. You know, you have a question and the stuff is so specific. You know, hey guys, what's going on? You got someone answering you like on the other side of the world, like right away.
It's the least jerk community. Like I feel like there's an ego in this industry, like bananas commercial. It's like ego against ego. But there's something about like we're all trying to keep this alive. Yeah. So we're all just trying to like make sure someone else is doing like shoot it once a year, do something, just get yourself back into it. But it's funny because it's almost like we're scavenging for parts. So I have an ILX number 5 shutter on my Cambo, and I had a problem and I went to a place to get it repaired. The guy looked at it before he even gave me a price, like, if we can't fix it, we're gonna buy this off of you. And I was like, hold on, man. Like,
he said, I'm selling this,
like,
right?
How about you fix it first? What are you doing, man? But I am so worried that I'm storing everything right. I feel like I owe it to the equipment and our world to like make sure that I'm like, this Hasselblad is like this. My Graflex, I'll make sure the bellows aren't rotting out. I have all these Byron cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, am I the right guy? It's right next to spray cans and a box of Twinkies. Am I the right guy?
But you got to use the stuff, right?
You
You
gotta
know,
use
I
the
got
stuff.
so much. Yeah, I actually just dusted this 8x10 off my shelf this week, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting on this camera. I'm like, I don't even know if the bellows are good. You know, I'm looking at it for the first time, like these need a little help. You know, I'll throw a sheet over it for now, but you know, I'm excited because I'm like, I've been sitting on some things, and now, you know, especially with the residency, it's like sometimes you just need a good deadline.
But don't you think the residency probably pushes you to keep on? It gives you a reason to go do. It gives you
Oh,
reason.
absolutely. It's a reason to make work for yourself.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like right now, it's like, you know, I have a young daughter, I have a studio, I'm doing workshops, you know, I have a lot of these projects that aren't all about me. You know what I mean? But I have so many ideas that have been brewing for so long. So I'm really excited. I'm kind of still in the like incubation stage where you're like, okay, am I going to do this or this, you know? And you kind of start going back to like those half-baked ideas that you're waiting for the right opportunity for, you know? Sometimes they come together, you know, without you trying.
You
but-
guys aren't seeing the crazy look in the eyes that I'm getting when she's talking about this stuff. Oh my. So with what you're doing, I actually, one thing I want to ask you is, are you
Yeah.
approached by modern people today for some sort of like funeral coverage or post-mortem ever? I feel like there's a curiosity to that
Yeah.
and an appreciation for it. Have you been approached to actually bring it back and do something, or?
Yes and no. So right now I'm in a really interesting place where I technically hold the title of senior photographer for the New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner. I was working as a forensic photographer for the city. And so when you work for the city, they have an amazing program where, you know, you can take, I think it's like 4 or 5 years off when you have a baby, and they'll hold the title for you. You know, you don't get any of the benefits of employment, but I could go back in like next month or next week, you know, and have my position waiting for me. So it's incredible. So I'm not working there all the time, but I do hold that title. And so when you're working there, obviously it'd be a big conflict of interest for me to be involved in, you know, something that could like relate, you know. So if someone dies in New York City, you know, yeah, the medical examiner is handling cases that are like active investigations. So it's like if someone died suddenly, suspiciously, when in apparent other, you know, good health, like a homicide or, you know, any accident, all of those things go through the office. Someone died of natural causes, they're not usually going to go through and be like a case that they're going to cover. But maybe they do pick up the body. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not involved really in any of that now. Maybe beyond in the future could be something, but it would probably be more on like a personal level. Do you know what I mean?
I think Tim Burton's gonna not gonna be like, listen, I got like a month left. Just make sure you get me a good shot at my funeral. I just feel like somebody.
I mean, I did have, I've had some interesting inquiries, but yes.
There's a goth world in this New York. I mean, there's like 2 goth stores in New York alone. So I feel like somebody looks at this differently than what a lot of other people. I think they really do want it, and they look at it as something that's for them. And I think I'm wondering if you're going to be the one. Like
one thing that I'm really interested in is more like photography as a means of like memorial photography, you know? And so like you were talking about how the Victorians wore their grief. Like one thing that I love making is these tintype mourning pins. So that was something that they did back in the day. And what's cool
I
is
want to
like,
see this.
you know what? On my jacket over there, I don't.
Wait, I'll grab
Okay, it's not a mourning. It's not a mourning pin, but it is a tintype pin. These were actually one of the ones we did for our wedding. You could pull it off. It's like on the collar. Sorry, I meant to wear it. I was like looking for one that I had of my grandma. I couldn't find it this morning. So yeah, you could take it off. No. Okay, you're gonna put it.
This is so cool. Oh my god.
This is
so sick.
This
You
is
can't
a
see this.
small. Sorry, this is a small tintype. This is from a digital file. My last name is Lupo. My husband's Falco, so we both have these like Italian spirit animal last names. So and he's a graphic designer, so we're like, oh, we're obviously gonna do a crest or something, you know. So we did falcons and wolves for our wedding, and we gave out tintype pins because, of course, you make it into a giant project, right? As we do.
You nerds.
But no, I want to get into making memorial pieces for people. I'd also a big thing for me is like.
You guys see it?
Can they see it?
They can't hear me, so I don't know if you can.
Oh, I don't know if.
Yeah, I think they can see it. Cool. All right.
But
Sorry for the silence. That's sick though.
Yeah, but I want to get more into making like objects with these. Like there's something great about the tintypes, and often I see them sit in boxes, you know, or they're kind of a difficult medium to frame sometimes.
Dude,
and
I've seen them shattered I've seen them like just get stacked up and scratched. I've seen the
Yes.
pressure of the weight break another set.
What do you do with them? So that's the other thing. I want to get into like making these like, keepsake boxes and just things that you can kind of treasure, like a,
Dude,
yeah.
I think I pitch this to everybody. I don't know why I keep doing it, but I want a tarot deck, like based on.
I've seen someone do that, I think, in what plate?
Come on.
Yeah, no, there's a woman doing it. It was really good.
my desk
We'll
by
link to that.
Come
Yeah.
No, it's one of these things that I think people take like there's too much of a gimmick to it and they don't
Yeah.
look at the image first. I don't think they realize how much the process or the format or the medium adds to the subject matter. So what might look like just a shallow portrait, you're looking at different tones, a depth to it. Like there's the intense black, the gloss alone, you can get lost in. And it's funny, as I said this to a young kid here, he's like, how many times does your phone shut off and you're looking at that black mirror and sinking in? Now imagine that inside of a portrait that's glass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's like, oh, like look beyond just the image, but mix it with what's physically in your hand and think about that.
Yeah.
Like I love the chemical swirls. That drives me. I think it's one of the coolest things. You'll never see that. And when it's replicated, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's just.
You can't replicate it when you try.
I think what you were talking about before with the spirit photos where people are trying to determine if it's real. We're going through that again right now with this AI garbage.
I know.
You know what I mean? So like, are we going to see AI generated tintypes that people just won't know because it's never been in their hand?
But what we're seeing is a huge industry of people trying to bring the deceased back through AI.
That is
which is
awful.
on a whole nother weird level. Yeah.
So I think it's disrespectful, but
Yeah.
then I saw this, I think it was in Korea. This mom lost her 7-year-old and the AI created the 7-year-old and it just made the mother feel like if it's therapeutic, maybe, but it's also
Yeah.
a little delusional.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
hugging ones and zeros and talking to pixels and you got to face the grief at some point.
Yeah.
You know, I just think the loss is so heavy. It's so nerve striking for humans that you're playing a dangerous game with this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things
I
that
agree with
guys that I do want to get on before we get completely off track. You have to remember it's also like a physical medium. It's not just like a picture. So she did some really cool things with glass and fingerprints. So like,
Oh, yeah.
so like you can think of it that way also. I'm going to pull them
Here,
up
you
on
know
your,
Okay.
right
Yeah.
here.
That'll be easier to see. I'll hold one. But I
Are
don't
these
think-
scans? Is that what these are?
These are photographs.
Okay.
It's like against black, just so you could see them well. So
So what is this? What are we-
okay,
what
so
are we
this was a
looking
project that I did during 2020. Let's see.
at? Oh, this is so, oh, hey, Chloe.
I don't know if you could see these.
Well, I'm just.
Okay,
doing
yeah, okay. So I'm holding it. It's on like a
I'll show
little
you.
microscope slide. So I went around collecting and lifting fingerprints from different items and areas that I was intersecting with on a day-to-day basis. So it was like at a time where we were all so hyper fixated on, remnants of human touch, the idea of like information and like even disease, like, and how quickly that can spread. I mean, I was kind of examining like every surface that I was touching for a while there. And
You went down a rabbit
weren't you?
hole, huh?
I mean, in the very beginning when we were like washing our groceries, I mean, we were just looking at things very different. And I had taken a lot of these classes at forensic conferences when I started going back down that path. And I took all these like classes, like how to lift fingerprints off of different types of subjects, like different types of surfaces and all of these different things.
so
And so I thought, maybe this is a field that I want to get in professionally, but if nothing else, it'll just inspire my personal work, and it definitely ended up being both. And so one day I kind of like woke up and I'd been looking at a lot of pictures from the conferences and I started thinking about it as collodion, the fingerprints on a surface, because when you look at like, say, a super glue fumed fingerprint, like a forensic, process that they'll use to visualize, it looks very much like collodion sitting on the surface. I
Yeah.
thought it would be really interesting to try and replicate this and do it 1-to-1 so they almost feel like little forgeries in a way.
Yeah, cool.
And it's also about like the dissemination of like information and like personal information and how like we give a lot of it away as like the cost of entering many spaces, without really thinking about it. We're leaving traces of ourselves all over the place. And so, yeah, so this was a project that I did then. This one I think was from like the digital display on the 6 train screen on one of the stations.
so
So,
they're
I was like
actually,
walking around with the kit, you know.
so they're actual finger. It's not like you just like, let me touch a thing and make a thing. Like
Oh yeah,
you
no, none of
lifted.
these are mine. I mean,
So
there were a
you,
couple I did around my house. Maybe they were, you know, but yeah,
oh,
no, I
oh
was
man.
looking around, I was seeing them, I was dusting them, putting the tape on. And what's interesting is Adorama is one of the few places that actually sells forensic supplies.
So funny story.
What is up with
Yes.
that? Yeah.
So yeah, New York's NYPD and other organizations are supported through Adorama. So
Okay.
they come here. So in order to carry one thing from a brand, they have to carry an entire line. So I found things like pink handcuffs because they're part of a brand that makes like drug kits or something.
Yes.
We had oh man, they're gonna kill me. We had
We'll link to
bulletproof
that.
vests here, right? So we started a Twitch channel years ago, and we used to wear these bulletproof vests in here while playing like first person shooter games. And
Oh
I'm like,
God.
but then all these kids started showing up, and we're buying them and then painting them and making them into like a fashion thing for like music videos and stuff. And I'm
Really?
like, where is this going? I bought a machete here years ago. There's so much crazy stuff that I've just like, if I can't find it, I go on Adorama.com and I type in random thing, and I'm like, so I found infant body bags.
Yeah.
Funny, they buy the 5-pack, you save on the 5th one. I'm just letting you know. But they're really good for some things.
You know, yeah.
I don't want to do this. I'm sorry. Okay, but
You
yes.
know, also there's like I will say like there's a certain sense of humor that like you kind of have to you have to have when you work with death, and you see it in the morgue. And like it was actually something my high school teacher had brought up, you know. It's like, you know, when you're dealing with these really heavy topics, you know, sometimes humor can like offset it a little bit, and like it's not to be like disrespectful, but it's like,
No.
and even the companies, when you look at their advertisements, it's kind of funny. Like it's like a little weird, you know. I'm like, look, you know, they'll use skeletons and things like that, and I'm like, I don't know, is this okay?
I
It's a
think you have to just
strange,
change
you
the
know.
perspective point a little
Yes.
bit. Like when I look at like, yes, it's called an infant body bag, but like this is a plastic bag that has a seal into it I could use for certain things, and that's how I come across. Also, we're creepy kids. You know, like it's just what it is, man.
I know another tintype photographer recently who bought a hearse, and he's going to be doing his what. And I always kind of wanted to do that, but it doesn't make sense in New York City, you know.
What, to make a dark room
To
in the
do,
back?
yeah, to do as a
Yeah.
portable setup. I mean, you gotta have all the space in the back, you know.
So if you're trying to buy a hearse, I tried to have a hearse, and my father is a well-known mechanic and engineer in New York, right? So funny thing about a hearse is they're Cadillacs. Guess what's expensive? Parts for Cadillacs.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, you're going to buy this thing and it's going to cost you like $1,000 every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cost me $1,000 the first week, and I was a kid. I was like, I can't do this. So then I went to get a flower car. I don't know if you ever saw a flower car.
No.
So they have a refrigerated bed.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yes. They're also Cadillacs. So Freon's blowing out everywhere, and I'm like trying to keep this thing together. And it was mustard gold. And I'm like, what funeral car is gold? So like, anyway, I ended up getting an El Camino because it still had the bed. And then I painted it like death black and made it look like it was still like creepy and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, good compromise. But like Cadillacs, the hearses are really expensive to keep together. And
Try parking that.
dude, they're so hard. They're boats.
I know.
And they drink
On-
gas.
on gas,
They're
yeah, I was
so
gonna say, it
loud,
doesn't make
and you're not
sense.
going to go fast. And
No.
it's not fun. You just look fun.
It looks cool in a way. I don't know.
Well, there's a guy that has a one from the 50s that he rents for Halloween type stuff. And they have to flatbed it because they don't even want to run it.
Is there one that's over here by Abracadabra?
Yeah.
where they
Well,
do
I
in
know
the-
it's still there, but yeah.
Is it always there?
I don't know if it's always there, but I
Okay,
know
it's there
yeah.
around Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing with like the grief fashion is the way the cars look, the way
Yeah.
it was trying not to be showy but still be like ornamental. I want to say like
Yes.
and a lot of death, not death, but like I have a graveyard book that goes through all the ornamentation of it, and it does
the
get
symbolism
weirdly
and-
but it gets weirdly celebratory based on like gaudy looking things, and that's for the family more than the person.
Yeah.
There was a cemetery in Ozone Park when I was a kid. I used to hop the fence. It was closed, and there was shopping carts and like weeds growing over it. And we'd break into the mausoleums. Oh man, Adorama, I'm sorry. There was rotting candy bowls, so they would fill these candy bowls for the families when they went to visit the mausoleums, and they never cleaned it out.
Or
And just,
was it as like a almost an offering to the dead?
no, it
Because
was
that's not
totally,
different.
maybe. No, this was, it had to been for the families or something like that. But like, it was just interesting that they thought, well, you're going to go see your father. You might want a butterscotch. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, what is this mentality, right?
Well, I mean, you see in other cultures, like, there's so many like Mexican traditions too.
That are very cool, by the way.
Which I love. Yes, no, very cool. And I feel like we could use a lot more of that here, where it's like, Day of the Dead and the celebration of who they were and leaving them offerings. And
Yeah.
sometimes you do see these, I had a student who made work last week, and there was a grave in the background, and there was like an open bottle of Coca-Cola, with some flowers and stuff, and you would leave that for, it's not for you, it's not for the visitors. It's the idea you're with the dead, and
Well, one of the things I always thought was a really cool tradition was I'm Jewish blood, and you'd leave a rock on the gravestone as you visit it, and you'd see how many people had like tons of rocks and like a rock.
Yes,
And, like,
I always wondered what that meant.
yeah, so it meant you were there.
Okay.
Right. So, but what was interesting is when I was growing up, I remember seeing like, oh, that woman must be so lonely, like only one rock. Then you look at the date, like, no, there's only one person alive that still remembers this person who visited him. Like Mother's Day and Father's Day, the rocks on those tombstones, you'd be like, it really gave you in one shot, it's almost like a like, isn't it? Like, it's like someone hit like on this gravestone. Like, I mean, we still have these traditions in different ways. I just think that we're exposed to mortality in a different way in this era. I mean, we're live streaming funerals, dude. How impersonal is that?
Yeah.
But is it better than not missing it completely if you couldn't make
Especially
it?
during COVID and things like that.
Sure,
I think it made
absolutely.
sense.
Oh my gosh, this chat is popping off. I didn't mean to forget you
Mausoleum.
guys. By the way, I pinned to the top Jolene's workshop if you guys want to check it out. It's very intriguing. I think I'm going to have
Oh, yeah, it's coming up at the end of the month. I have one that's coming up at the end of the month, May 29th, 30th, 31st. But it's definitely something I'm going to keep doing. So
what's a length of a workshop? Like, what is that actually? Is it a whole day?
yeah, it's 10 to 6.
Oh, wow. That is a full day, dude.
3 full days.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you need it. It's like, you do 3 full days and you almost wish it was longer. It's just by then, the process, you've gotten used to going in and out of the dark room. I try and give people as many resources as I can if they wanted to do this beyond the class. Like, how do you set up a portable dark box? Some intros to, like, maybe we don't mix chemistry, but we talk about it, chemistry best practices, maintenance.
They coat themselves?
Oh, they're coating all the plates themselves. Yeah. From like the first day, they're making work.
Oh,
they're
so
working in pairs. So each pair
workshop.
will get a 4x5 camera and go out into the field. I'm there. I'll have an assistant also that's there. And they're setting up compositions. They're running back to the dark room, coating the plate, sensitizing it, bringing it out, exposing, going right back to develop. And we have all the plates, from each day that we're seeing as we're going. And it's the nice thing about wet plate is like, it's an immediate, thing. So it's like, you see the picture right away. If you got it, if you want to do it again, what might have went wrong.
There's such a romance to it because it's not just you see it right away. Watch it happen is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like a Polaroid or something. It's not even like a silver gelatin paper. There's a different like I don't know how to explain it, so I'm not going to try. But Daniel Norton, we're doing this workshop at some point. I want to do this. What's the size of a workshop? How many people usually?
6.
Oh, that's
very
awesome.
intimate. Yeah,
very
because
cool.
it's like beyond that. I was like, I could maybe push it to 8, but 6 is kind of a real sweet spot where it's like I can actually have time for everybody. I can make sure everyone's leaving with good plates, and troubleshoot with them as they're going.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then there's three pairs of 2 and 2 dark rooms. So
how long have you been doing these workshops?
I've been doing the process maybe since like 2012. I've been teaching it for years, but I haven't been doing this 3-day workshop. I started doing it maybe last year, and I did one in maybe 2019 out on Governor's Island. And that was a whole nother thing.
How'd
Oh
you
my
do
gosh.
that?
I don't even know how I pulled it together because I had to pull these strings to get this guy to open up like a hydrant because they didn't want to give me the water. I was gonna, so it was like, you have to pack everything in. I have a picture on my Instagram somewhere of like, we're all on the ferry and everyone has all this gear. We had coolers. It was the summer. This process is very temperamental. With temperature and all of that. No, it's even further. It was a while ago.
Oh my God. Like, first of all, I don't think people realize like Governor's Island, like that is not easy.
But we had beautiful views of the city, Oh, and I have such a sweet spot for pet portraits. I would be okay if I just did pet portraits going by.
I mean, honestly,
I love the animals.
guys, we're going to get her in here to do a live demo. So maybe we'll make it a pet thing.
We're bringing it in.
Oh,
Give me,
there's
bring
the
in your
pin.
dogs. Here's the pins. Yeah.
Wow, the pins are very cool.
You know, it's really, I made them originally when my grandma passed away, and it's something that, you know, we wear when we were thinking about her, if there's like a holiday or a wedding or something like that. Just this special feeling like the person, you know, you're thinking, oh, right there, I think that group shot might be a series of pictures. Yeah, these are from that very first workshop. And in the audience, I have another mentor of mine, Curtis Willocks, who was there that weekend, and popped in and gave me a hand. That's some student work.
You're doing these in pretty warm weather. Like, does that affect your
The
chemistry?
weather is like one of the craziest parts. You know, last time I did the cemetery class, we had a lot of rain, and that had it was tough. You know, it was hot and humid, and then it was rainy, and we were still making plates. We made some. I have one over there. We made some plates like in the rain. You could see the tombstones are wet. And you know, I mean, if it was totally raining, that's the picture of bringing everything in.
That's everything it's on a ferry.
The giant tripods, the cooler. You have to bring ice and ice the developer.
How many of you don't take that extra lens or that reflector because how many don't take a camera at all because you're like, I don't know, carrying something like this is.
Oh my God! By the time you finish the weekend with these people, you feel like you've been through, like, you know. I mean, I'm still really close with a lot of people I took my first class with. You know, it
Well, you've been
really.
through it,
Yeah.
Oh my!
I met a lot of great people. I mean, I do more than this process. It's just that I've been doing this for so long.
I think it's prolific.
Yeah, that it's like, you know, and also I had the chance to work with a lot of other artists and learn a lot along the way, especially with being able to do it all the time at Penumbra. And so that's why I like to teach and kind of give back and create these opportunities for other people, you know, to be able to do the same.
So where would you say, if someone's like from zero, just wanting to go to some resources to read up or figure out, like, do you have anything you want to shout out to get if someone's just...
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend taking a workshop if you're going to get to the point where you really want to start doing this, because you're going to end up saving like a lot of time and money in the long run, and also learn how to do it safely by going that route. Just because there's so much that can go wrong. You know, I did the class, I tried to do it on my own, and even then, you know, it's a lot. So I would recommend looking into that. But one place that's great is John Coffer. There's this guy up in the Finger Lakes, and he's one of these pioneers of bringing this process back, you know, into the modern, you know, era. And he's doing he does this thing every year, and this summer is the last one. Great. Now it's going to be even more packed. But he does this wet plate jamboree. He invites wet plate people. This is such a niche community. He invites wet plate people from all over the world are traveling, and this is the last one. So there's going to be hundreds of wet plate people there up at his place in Dundee, because he's been doing it for like 25 years or however long
he's not
been
passing
doing
it on to someone to keep it going.
You know, he does
what
workshops. He does still his classes, but this is more of a meetup. This is a meetup. Yeah. You have to write to him.
Oh man.
And also he makes a manual, and that's what I was thinking. So he makes an incredible manual that's like, it's like maybe $100 now, worth every penny. I use it. I refer to it as sort of like the Bible for wet plate. All of the recipes that I use are from his thing. It is like, it's lengthy.
What's his name?
John Coffer. And he has a website that's like very kind of antiquated and maybe hard to navigate, but the manual is in there. Does it come by
a carrier pigeon? Does it show up on a Fox?
You used to be able to ask for a handwritten copy or a typewritten copy, and it was a scan of his writing. And then you can choose to get these like DVDs that are like recordings of him doing the process and talking so slow. And there's like cows mooing in the background, and it's just like a whole thing.
You know, I get down on our industry for all the egos and commercialism, and then the wackos just bring me right back to loving this community so much. Like the lengths that real photographers go to keep things alive, or to go do this all for an image that might not get seen anywhere. It's just really, it's infectious. It really is. And it makes you realize like, oh yeah, like I should go do something. I call it playing in the mud, right? We're all shooting digital. It's clean. It's white glove, whatever. Well, not for me. My stuff's covered in fake blood, but whatever. All my stuff's gunked up with fake. It's just,
is it?
Oh yeah.
Like the gear itself?
Oh yeah.
The lenses?
Dude, I at trade shows, you can go to whatever brand you shoot and they'll clean the camera for you, whatever. I literally heard that a guy from Nikon, I said, hey, I need this back. I got a demo. They took it in the back. It's like, oh, is Seth out there? And I was like, because it's all gunked up with this gummy. I don't know if you know what fake blood's made of, but it's just like very junked up. And I was like, yeah, leave it on there. Just clean the sensor. I'm good. Because now I don't have to mark it's my camera when I do whatever. Anyway.
I would love to collaborate on a project one day.
I've
always wanted to get into special effects stuff, especially with the work I've done at the medical examiner's office, because I can't use that work anywhere, obviously. It belongs to the city. And I'm taking like the craziest photos of my life that you'll ever see or take, and no one can ever see that. But I've learned so much about like anatomy and pathology, and I've gotten so interested in that, and I'd love to kind of like, I'm not sure the right medium, but find some kind of way of making something. I've always thought like making molds, mold making, or
Mold
some
making?
kind of process. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
when I started getting really busy into this, I took an anatomy class, and
Okay.
I watched
That
a
makes
lot
sense.
of autopsy tutorial type stuff from
Uh-huh.
like, not like they did it in autopsy, but like they're walking you through like what tissue would do this, what would happen at this age of an injury.
Yes.
And so I really paid attention to that, because when the makeup artist doesn't do it,
Yeah.
it's so bad. And so I got to figure out like, no, that blood will be darker. The blood's coming from the torso. There will be bile in it. So it'll be a darker red. Oh,
Yeah.
it's from the head. Make it really bright red, because a lot of capillaries. Like, I started learning all this kind of stuff. And then I finally had them do an injury on my leg. And I documented the whole process of them doing the injury makeup to my leg. So as an FX standpoint, I learned. So I started putting them together like this. And I think it kind of helped out me staying in the industry as a working photographer. But like, I feel, and this is going to sound horrible, but I don't think it'll ever do justice to what you've actually probably documented. And in the end, it's still foam latex. It's still silicone.
Yeah.
It's not. And my big thing is the age. Like, the blood's always brand new.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's always funny watching TV and movies now, when something's really realistic. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. It really
Yep.
looks like that.
The-
And then you see everything else and it's just so campy.
One of the best injuries I've ever seen on film was, do you remember The Killing, that Seattle-based
Oh, I didn't really watch it. I remember
Joel
when that was
Kinnaman
around,
was
yeah.
the cop in that and all that. When they found her, I was like, this is the best I've ever seen. It was incredible. And I was like, I wonder if this is actual footage from an actual, no. Then I started seeing it, was like,
They probably consulted with some,
whoa,
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Or do you remember the old HBO show where they would consult a coroner and he would talk about what these mysterious deaths were?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
It was
yeah,
always the
yeah,
same
yeah,
one
yeah.
coroner. I'm like,
Yes,
this guy's
I
like
know.
famous.
Dude, they still hire him, like if they want to do like a second opinion on an autopsy.
He's like
Michael
the OG.
Baden, right? Yeah,
He
it's
looks like
he's
Ron Jeremy a little bit. It's a little weird. It's a
Yeah,
little weird.
yeah.
But and it's funny. It's not funny, but like the way he tells the families his what he thinks the salute like actually happened here is so casual. Like, yes, your infant died because, like, I'm like, dude, give her a little bit of grace on the.
Yeah.
But it felt like a reality show. I don't know. I grew up watching that. Grew up watching a lot of. So my father stole cable. The first thing he showed me when I was a little kid was an open heart surgery he found on cable.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind
We're
of
all
changed?
screwed. You've had some things you don't remember. Yeah, I'm telling you.
I
There's
know.
been some stuff, but I think it gives us the ability to not be grossed out, off put.
Yeah.
We bring them out more logic and realistic to, like, even though it's flesh and bone or whatever, it's still like a substrate or a material. Does that kind of make sense to it? But I think what you're doing with the cemetery and the post-mortem, you look at stuff, is you're adding a level of respect to the humanity of it. Like the people that are still behind for the grief. Does that is that what's on your mind a lot? Like the people who will be viewing the image are dealing with the death?
Yeah, I mean, they're like the power of photography for like memory, right? And like for like memorializing someone.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think about that a lot, and I think about it with like the losses that like I've experienced and like the power of some images that I've had.
I'm sure
Yeah.
your stuff. The medium adds another level of connection and hand touch to it that a digital file to somebody can never do, I don't think. So whatever you've shot for someone on this level, I guarantee you it's hit harder, and that's the only experience they actually know, because who else would do this for them?
Even those funeral cards that you get now, and they're like laminated and they're okay, and that's kind of like this one keepsake that you usually get when you go to a funeral. Have you seen the old ones, the Victorian ones?
No.
They're so beautiful. It's something I've always kind of wanted to bring back, more of like a beautiful card or something that you could maybe hang. Sometimes they would have like a portrait of the person, kind of, I don't know, albumin or silver gelatin print. They'd have a poem. They'd be like letterpressed onto a cabinet card.
And they're like fabric cards, right?
They're like a thick cardstock.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, very like ornate. And I mean, like, it's nice that we have those cards now, but just kind of thinking of different things that we could have and like ways of incorporating photography with that. A lot of the work too that I do, I'm not like trying to recreate the 19th century. Like, it's never going to be.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. I use a lot of digital. Like, I use digital in my process a lot. So even with the pins, I can start with a digital photo lay it out like an InDesign, print a bunch of them on like Pictorico or transparency paper.
Yeah, so that's a clear film with a ceramic dust on it that holds ink when you print it.
And then and then I could put that. I have an 8x10 enlarger in my space. And
You have an 8x10 enlarger?
Yeah.
That's massive.
I know. Well, because for wet plate, you want it to be kind of 1-to-1 if you're going to do digital printing. So I have this like Frankenstein. It's like with a 4.5 chassis, but with the 810 head.
And the amount of light you have to do to put through that must be nuts.
It's not a perfect setup. It's like, it's so top heavy. It's
like as you.
It's big. It's big. I used to live in my living room, like before I had a studio space. My husband, I always think there should be like a support group for people that are like dating photographers or like married to photographers. Just like the space, it takes over your life. I have a storage unit. I have a studio, But anyone who has a good studio usually has a storage unit or had one because you're collecting these things over the years,
Give them to you, like,
you get all this stuff, and you can't, it's good gear.
Yeah,
I can't use it now, but I'll use it, and so, and you get it, you get a good opportunity to get something. The ICP was changing locations. This guy over here helped me take apart. They're like, well, you could have this darkroom sink if you can take it apart.
So that happened to me.
You figure it out.
I had a darkroom sink and I left it at my parents' house. And my dad's like, you got to get this out of here. But it's a 6 foot, 7 foot long fiberglass black. I'm like, Dad, it's a great sink though.
I'm not getting rid of the sink. It's just, where is it going to go?
He's like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, put it in outside. You have an outside sink.
Yes.
He's like, do you hear what you just said to me? What do I need an outside sink for? Get this out of my house. And I was like, but it's perfect. What am I going to do? I had a full color processor for paper I had to get rid of. It was 220 volt. I got sick from it twice because it has formaldehyde in it.
Oh,
and
wow.
So,
okay.
But I have a color Bessler enlarger in my crib that I haven't touched in 20 years. But color enlargers for black and white.
I've never really done color printing in the darkroom. I always wanted to. It always felt a little intimidating, I gotta say. Yeah.
Nah, I learned color printing before I learned any type of like alternative process. So like I think it really helped out with that. Plus you're getting a color balance with the no one knows what I'm doing here, but these are color viewers. You'll be like cyan, yellow, magenta, and you do this until it made sense. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then you leave with a headache because so you would do prints in a darkroom, color darkroom. But first of all, it's completely black. There's no red light, no amber light. It has to be completely black. But your enlarger had cyan, yellow, and magenta dials on it till you could get a neutral balance or whatever. You would make a print. If it was too yellow, you put it up and go like this with a cyan. You'd be like, until it was like, oh, I need to add this much blue. Then you go back, do it again. By the time you're done with one print, your brain, you want to know why I'm like this? All right. This is what it is. Oh my gosh. But long story short, like there's so many processes that are normal that you haven't touched, but everything else that's sideways, you've probably gone through it, right? Gum bichromates and all this kind of,
No, you know what? I haven't really done much with gum. There's some that I've tried. I've done like some albumin printing. I took a daguerreotype class once.
Dude.
That's like on another level. I can't. The people who do that, they're really like.
When they find a daguerreotype, like at a garage sale, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That was like the first.
Talk about toxic fumes. I mean, I already feel like, great, I had to choose this process with all these like toxic chemicals, you know what I mean? But daguerreotype, it's like you're fuming these toxic chemicals in a little box. And anyway, yeah.
And it takes forever. Like an exposure takes forever and stuff like that.
Yes.
Have you successfully done a daguerreotype?
At Penumbra. They still do some daguerreotype classes.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe like once a year. There's only like a few people doing it.
Isn't Chuck Close doing like massive ones?
I don't know.
Chuck Close doing like massive daguerreotypes? Oh, okay. 20 by 24 Polaroid. Joe McNally, who's a buddy of mine, did the 9/11 project on 1-to-1 Polaroids of responders.
Wow.
That was his big 9/11 project, and they got it funded by everybody. But it was all first responders that if they blinked or something or felt uncomfortable, that's a $300 print.
Yeah.
And the camera was a room. So it took 5 people to load and unload this thing every time he did
it holds so much weight to see it that big. It almost probably feels like the person is there. It's almost, I don't know if it was 1-to-1, but it's
if you go to
like
the exhibit, it's like, and it's film, like it's tangible. I don't know, man. If you guys are at all able to go to like a museum or some organization to literally see plates like what she has here or whatever, do it. You will understand how crazy this is. Victoria Will going like, I didn't even want to finish this. I had to get Jolene in here to save my life because I was so scared. And she said you were like a boss, like varnishing this stuff like it was nothing. I was like, yeah.
There were a lot of plates. There might have been like, all right, feel like there were like 175 plates.
That's a lot.
It was crazy.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Her nerves must have been shot.
It was a long week. I remember, yeah, like barely sleeping that weekend.
Sundance
You know,
Festival.
yeah, because they wanted to see the scans like within like by the end of the festival. You know, so we were like doing plates all day, then taking them back, scanning them all, you know, trying to retouch them just lightly enough so that they look like a tintype and getting everything together. It's like,
And now there's a book of it.
now there's a book of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys didn't check out Victoria Will's episode, I think it's like an episode back or whatever. Yo, we just blew
Have
through
you
this hour,
seen
kid.
the exhibit, Jolene?
Jolene, an exhibit named Jolene? Isn't that a Lady
Song?
Gaga
No, the Dolly
album?
Parton song.
Oh, I'm so stupid.
Oh.
I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. I like how I can remember like evidence photos from Luke Santa. but
Yeah,
I can't remember. So, I am whatever, guys. We're gonna get Jolene back in here to do like. Remember we did the paper negative here with me and Daniel here a couple times. We're gonna get Jolene in here to rock some plates. I'm very excited for that. I can't tell you how long I've been trying to get her in here. You have no idea. I was even trying to bribe her with a Speedotron power pack.
Yeah.
So if and that's up for grabs. You still need it. You're more
I
than
love it.
welcome.
I could always use more power.
Oh yeah. It's funny because it's a 2400 watt second power pack, and she's like, "Well, I use 48."
It's like I could maybe connect two together with a bi-tube. I have not
hair
seen
light.
the exhibit. No, the 9/11 exhibit. I'd
Yeah.
like to.
So Joe did a book of it, and it was really and the proceeds went to the families of 9/11 like that. But it was it's now in the memorial, the 9/11 memorial.
Okay.
He has 91 images.
It's a permanent.
Polaroids, yeah. For he was storing them forever. They finally took them off of his hands,
Oh wow.
and he was so nervous about it being like the Polaroid part that right under the Polaroid lens he put a 6.7 camera to just get a second.
Yes.
Just to
Yeah.
make
Oh
sure,
yeah.
Unreal, guys. Oh my gosh, make sure you follow this crazy broad. Right?
And I'll be back. I promise.
I hope so. The workshop is pinned to the top of this chat, or just go check out her Instagram. Stay up on this because you might be watching this like a year from now. Hopefully she's still doing these workshops. I'm pretty psyched. Daniel, we're doing this workshop. I want to go do this thing. This is so psyched. Is there anything you want to make sure they know about or anything?
No, I mean, I feel like we covered it, you know, I don't know. Follow me. I usually will I post from time to time on Instagram. And so if there's any updates about classes or exhibits or anything like that, I'll put it on there.
But for now, tomorrow, Daniel Norton is live. He's coming back here with 3 go-to looks that his clients ask for. So if you're trying to be a little more commercial about it than this romantic death that we got going on here, make sure you check that out. Of course, this is the event schedule. And right here, when we get Jolene back, she's going to be streaming on this channel, Adorama Events. We're almost at 100K. Thank you guys for getting us there. But for now, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you tonight. For Tina, she'll be shooting like basically commercial fashion tonight on the events channel right here. Make sure you're there for 5 p.m. Eastern. But for now, Jolene, I'm so psyched. Thank you so
for
much.
having me.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Later, guys. Peace. Oh, hit subscribe, blah, 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 YouTube stuff. All right. Later, guys. Bye.